I'm Nicole, and today we're going to be joined by David Roberts, who is the CEO of Verra Mobility. Verra Mobility are going to be one of our platinum sponsors at Move America this September. So, thank you so much for joining us today. Really happy to have you here to chat to you. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about Verra Mobility and what you do.
So Verra Mobility is a global leader in smart transportation, and we have a portfolio of technology solutions that help cities and urban areas, as well as commercial fleets, as well as universities with mobility challenges that they have. Our purpose statement that we talk about is that we enrich lives by making mobility safer and easier. And pretty much all of our solutions do that in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and you mentioned that your solutions cover a wide range of areas. So it's like government, commercial fleets, parking. So what impact do these solutions have? Obviously, you say they better cities, but what specific impacts do you see that they have?
Yes, I think it's important. So we're global. So we operate in about 15 countries around the world. And so I'll just go one by one to sort of give you the context. In government solutions, we're the number one provider of photo enforcement and safety solutions for large municipalities. Here in the United States and even abroad, that shows up as speed cameras, red light cameras, school bus stop arm cameras, bus lane enforcement. So we work with cities to increase safety and reduce fatal crashes and also increase pedestrian safety. So ultimately, our number one objective in that business is to make the road safer and easier. And that's really what we do around the world. In commercial services, we work with leading commercial fleets around the world to solve problems around tolling and then violations and also title and registration. So there's this unique problem when the driver of the vehicle and the owner of the vehicle are not the same person. There's needs to help them access certain aspects as well as to be in compliance. So we work with companies like Hertz and Avis and Enterprise to allow their rental vehicles to access toll roads here in the United States, and we're just doing that in Europe as well. And sometimes those vehicles get violations and they need to be processed, and we have electronic procedures to make that easier for the rental car company. And then each of those vehicles needs to have an appropriate tag and title on the vehicle, and we do that across the country as well. So we work with about 3.5 million vehicles here in the United States across rental car companies as well as fleet management companies. So we also have a parking business called T2, where we're working in the United States with universities around their parking management challenges. And so you just have to imagine if you're a parking administrator at a large university and you've got students and guests and there's football games and all these people coming in and out of the university, there's rules and regulations, there's enforcement, and we have a set of technology that makes that much, much easier to facilitate on behalf of the parking administrator. So that's in our T2 business. So let's go back to your other question. Apologies.
No worries. And yeah, so you are making all these solutions in cities, and a lot of these solutions are things that a lot of people in your everyday life don't think of. So how important are these mobility solutions to cities, and is it quite hard to implement these solutions, or is it quite straightforward, or are people not really engaging with these solutions, or how important is it?
Yeah, so when you think about what we do specifically in what we call urban mobility, and urban mobility is sort of the broad context of all of the technologies that are shaping the future of how vehicles and pedestrians move along inside of a city, both today and into the future. One of the major planks, or one of the major platforms rather, that cities think about is safety. It's important that the people that are driving around in their city can feel safe, as well as those people that are walking around. And so there's an entire concept called Vision Zero that was actually started in Europe and has slowly come into America that is about having zero pedestrian fatalities related to traffic incidents. And so one of the primary tools by which to do that is automated enforcement, where we can, through very accurate, very high-tech and AI-enabled technology, we can help change driver behavior through the use of enforcement. And so the principle, really what we say is we save lives. I mean, we can see measurable impact in the reduction of fatal crashes or fatalities based upon the use of our technology in an urban environment.
And you mentioned earlier that you work on a global scale. So recently you've developed multiple new partnerships in Europe to try and create, reach this goal. So tell us a bit about those partnerships and what they are and what they do.
Yeah. So recently we've, in our commercial services business, we've been in Europe now for quite some time. We have bought a few companies there to establish a foothold, if you will, to expand our capabilities into the European continent. And that's principally revolved around a couple of things. One, relative to the announcements, is around our tolling business. So we are, in effect, replicating what we do here in the United States and bringing it to Europe. We've been doing that for the past 4 years. And we've announced some partnerships with people like Telepass. Telepass is the large toll authority in Italy. We have other relationships with other toll authorities around, which you need to have so that you can process the tolls all around Europe. And so that's one of the major ones that we just announced. So we're really excited. So we can now deploy our solutions in Italy, as well as with AITS, which is it's really an association around electronic tolling. And so in Europe, there are more, if you recall, the barrier-based tolling where the arm comes down. That's still quite common in Europe, and they're moving to all electronic, which is something that we really support. And so being a part of that association will allow us to be sort of at the table to help support the transition to that technology.
It sounds like you've got your foot in every door at the moment. So this question, it may be quite broad for you, but so what do you think is going to be the next step for the mobility in the next 12 to 18 months? What's the next big development that you think is really going to change the industry?
Yeah, it seems when we talk to our customers that the number one topic that's the nearest to them as to how they're thinking about is probably around EV charging. There's certainly, and with the recent law that was passed here in the United States, there's every incentive and sort of tailwind around getting an electric vehicle, and obviously for the impact that it has. But those vehicles also have to be charged somewhere, and they have to be parked somewhere. And as we move into an autonomous world, they're going to need to be charged someplace without a driver. And how does that all come to work? And so what I would say, first and foremost, that's probably maybe the longer, sort of the mid to longer term sort of topic that our customers are talking about. In the meantime, it's, hey, as congestion, as people are coming back and driving again to work, how do we handle that onslaught of people coming back to work, make sure it's safe, make sure it's easy through the use of enforcement or toll roads or even things like congestion pricing. Those seem to be the two tailwinds of what we're seeing right now.
No, I totally agree. And so you are going to be one of our platinum sponsors at Move America. So what are you excited for about the event, and what can we expect to hear from you there?
Well, I mean, I think one, it's just exciting that the mobility space now has a sort of a destination to go. I know it's something that's global, but it's going to be here in Austin. Great place to have. It's such a high-tech area and a lot of exciting things happening in the Austin area. I think that's going to be great. Two is there's so much new in mobility. There are so many new technologies and startups. I'm anxious just to learn, to be able to see so many different vendors and speakers in a condensed area, just to learn and see what's happening in the market because it's changing so rapidly. And hopefully what I'm going to share is how we think about the future of mobility as one of the larger players in the space, to talk about how we think about making mobility safer and easier through the use of technology and what that technology may look like in the distant future.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us today. Really appreciate it. And we will see you in Austin.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole.